Black Falcon Mercedes, which is in effect in second place. And Dries Vanthoor, who has just come in, no he hasn't, but Dries Vanthoor, who will be coming in probably on the same lap as yes, he'll be coming in on the same lap as Kevin Estre, and that should be for a driver change for the number 8 car.
Sorry,
big
Paul.
off. Big off for the number 8 car of Dries Vanthoor. That was a puncture, I think, which then pitched the car into a huge spin on the Dottinger Höhe, and I'm not sure whether Dries Vanthoor had actually hit the brakes at that point, but round and round and round went the Team WRT Audi. It's got into the barrier and caused massive damage to the rear of the car. The rear left wheel is hanging off, and the engine, yes, okay, it's a mid-engine machine, so sits well inside the car from the back of the back bumper of that car, but it's smouldering away, and I dread to think what sort of damage that has done to the Audi. Just concentrating on that car, actually, with sparks ahead from another GT3 machine, but it jumped all of a sudden to the right, to the grass, and may have given Dries Vanthoor the moment just to slow down very slightly. He's moving around in the car, but clearly either winded or incredibly shocked, and actually now disconsolate, because it came with very little warning. And it's great to see that Dries Vanthoor gives the thumbs up to the marshals who have just arrived on the scene, and what an impressive response time from the marshals that are released onto Dottinger Höhe very quickly indeed.
It's actually just before Tiergarten, Johnny. It's at the end of the Dottinger, probably one of the fastest sections of this circuit.
Yeah, but I reckon, did he have contact? Yes, he did. That's what happened. That's what happened. Contact with a Porsche Cayman, because they were both trying to avoid a car stopped on the Dottinger Höhe. It's in the braking area for Tiergarten, but I'm not sure for a GT3 car whether you are actually slowing at that point. Off to the grass, and then no grip whatsoever as you approach the scene. The sparks were from a Mercedes just up ahead. It leapt over that approach into Tiergarten and then smack into the barrier to driver's left, and then spun around at least 2 further times. It's actually the Hankook Mercedes, isn't it, that's virtually stopped, but on the apex of the corner. I'm not sure that's the side of the track you want to be.
You know what, Johnny? He's had contact with the car. I think that's punctured the right rear wheel, and then when he turns into the very fast sweep of it's just a kink really, into a left-hand sweep, that's when the car breaks away. He put the car on the grass after the contact, and then he's kind of got the car in control, and it's when he turns into the left-hand kink, it goes light over the bump, and that's when it goes. I think that the right rear tyre had punctured with the contact, because the car was settled.
Yeah, but then it went on the grass, and then you are straight to the scene of the accident.
Back end came round,
but very difficult to tell whether the tyre was down, and that's what actually pitched him into, well, off the track initially, and then not able to slow because 2 tyres were on the grass. But you're right, it's after the kink on the Dottinger Höhe, it's into the braking area at Tiergarten and for Hohenrhein, and the dust cloud for everyone following through is massive, and quite how Sheldon van der Linde managed to pick his way through the debris field is still a wonder to me. I'm sure there'll be the need to repair barriers on the approach to Tiergarten, because the lick that the number 8 car clattered into those barriers on the left side of the circuit, I'm sure struts, or at least Armco panels, will have to be replaced as a result of that. But the best thing, the best news that we can tell you is that Dries Vanthoor offered a thumb pointed upwards to the marshals. Obviously that might be a bit of adrenaline flowing as well, so I'd prefer him to be out of the car and rush to the medical centre just for preliminary checks, but the early signs are good, Paul.
Yes, and as you say, very impressive work from the marshals to get the intervention vehicle there as quickly as they were able to do so. Yes, it just happened as they were coming under the bridge at just past Antoniusbrücke and going into Tiergarten, and it was the Assenheimer Mercedes which was going so slowly, which caught Dries out, and trying to avoid that car and another one. It was in 4th place, that car, and I was about to, as part of my kind of introduction to where we were, point out that the Audis were kind of bubbling up through the field, as that was the leading Audi at the time, but sadly now out of the race in well, yeah, the worst possible way. I suppose René Rast at least has another hope home to go to, because René Rast there, who hasn't actually driven that car yet, because he drove in the number 1 car, but he hasn't driven that car. But he's going to have to. As I say, if René Rast is going to get a drive, then he's going to have to go over to Wolfgang Landt at Landt Motorsport and get himself a berth over there. But as you say, Johnny, the good news is that Dries seemingly okay, and at the moment just choosing to sit in the protection safety cell of that Audi R8 LMS.
Very wise, really, very wise. And Dries Vanthoor not driving at the moment, so he will be majorly concerned about younger brother too. He's not in the best of shape, but I think part of that is purely the emotion of knowing they were in such a good position in the race as far as Audi were concerned, and he's also just allowing that to be processed too. So trying to squeeze through a limping home number 11 Mercedes, the Auto Arena Motorsport car, and there was a Cayman to Dries's right as well, and I think it's done quite a bit of damage to the Cayman, because the steering wheel on the left side all of a sudden was moved well out of shape on the white and blue Cayman, as yet unidentified, but I'm sure somebody will be able to pick that out for us, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that Cayman pitting at the end of that lap as well.
That car took damage, squeezing between the virtually stopped Mercedes on the left and then the smaller Cayman, who was at racing speed coming past it. He had to squeeze by, and as he did so, he damaged the right rear of the Audi, and then the car went onto the grass. He got it off the grass, and he was pointing in the right direction, and he was beginning to change direction. The car was squirreling around a little bit, but he kind of, if the car had been intact, he was off the grass, he would have been able to stay in full control. However, there was either damage or a puncture or something going on with that right rear, where that car had contacted where the Audi, that is, had contacted the Porsche Cayman, and that's what caused that accident.
They could very easily break a toe link or damage the upright, or indeed pop the tyre too, because you've got wheel-on-wheel contact, and a lot of these wheels have a number of spokes throughout the diameter of the wheel, and all you need is just two wheels interlocking, does massive damage to the rim, and then that will knock on affect the tyre as well. So 8 car, I'm afraid, is out. We are yet to hear any news about the 11 car and whether that's made it home. I think that's actually unaffected in the end, and Patrick Assenheimer doing his level best to limp home. There's a round of applause from one of the garages. I think that's responding to the fact that Dries Vanthoor has walked to the rescue unit relatively unaided. And also the 173 car is returning to the apron as well, and that might also be the reason for the applause, because it emerged from that garage, and Lubner Motorsport have been working on the 173 for quite a while after that was damaged badly earlier on in the race.
Yeah, that car not being shown on my list as being into the pits because it got brought in on the back of a flatbed, so I can't tell you anything about when that car, how long that car has been in the pits. Trying to identify what you said was a Cayman. Could it have been a Toyota GT86?
Yes,
it could have been, yeah.
In which case, I think it was the number 115 car, which was... sorry, the 116 car, which was in the hands of Kurt Dujardin, and because that car hasn't come through either.
Right. Well, that's certainly possible that it didn't make it to the end of the lap, and we'll get hopefully a few more chances to describe that incident to you, and further opportunities to identify the incident as well. Looks like Landt Motorsport are just as sympathetic as the guys at WRT, because of course they're sharing René Rast between the 8 and the 1, and lots of upturned faces, I'm afraid, at Landt Motorsport as well. But they effectively become what I'm going to say is the next lead Audi.
It is, yes.
Okay.
Ahead of Frank Stippler at the wheel of the number 3 Phoenix car. So it's Landt from Phoenix in 5th and 6th. The two leading Audis nose to tail pretty much around the far side of the circuit at the moment. As I say, those two in 5th and 6th behind a Porsche, 2 Porsches, a Mercedes and an Aston Martin. So whatever you say about balance of performance, we've still got a pretty good mix, although certainly the way that the Porsches are going, and particularly the car of Manthey number 911, very rapid indeed.
My kind of throwaway comment about correct orders earlier on is just that after a latest bout of pit stops, the timing screen doesn't always tell you the correct order, as in can I safely say it's Estra from Christodoulou, from Maxime Martin, from Marco Werner. The Aston Martin number 40 though has now stopped. Is this another fuse box issue, do we think?
The fuse box problem we had earlier on, they diagnosed as being a fuel pump problem. But then having replaced the fuel pump, they thought it might be an alternator problem. And so it's kind of one of those problems that they chase, and every time you chase it, it's a bit like the Russian doll. There's another problem inside. But Peter Kate at the wheel of the number 40 car ground to a halt out on the circuit, and trying to get the car restarted at the moment.
Yeah, so Chris Meese and Frank Stippler, we reckon, are circulating nose to tail, but Jörg Bergmeister now in the 17 Porsche comes through in 6th place, ahead of Patrick Pilet in the 912. On this lap, we see a pit stop for the 24 car, and the 24 is one of the two BWT Audis.
Which is Marcus Winkelhock.
That's Marcus Winkelhock at the wheel, thank you.
And also in is the Aston Martin Vantage in the SP9 class, which is Maxime Martin coming in. And that is a slightly earlier stop. And if there is a code 60 slow zone on the circuit, then it is not a bad idea to come in if you're not quite at the end of your stint, but close to it, because you can do everything you need to do. Although the minimum pit stop time for a 7-lap stop is shorter than for an 8-lap stop, you can still change the tyres, get the fuel in that time. So if you think it's going to be a code 60 for a little while, then it's a good thing to do to change to get it into the pits at that moment.
It's quite a lengthy one as well. It's towards the end of the Dottinger Hohe, and then it's the 120 zone into the 60 zone.
That's definitely a Cayman that had contact from the number 8 machine.
In which case it carried on without coming into the pits.
Right.
That right rear tyre was already deflated before it hit anything.
Well, do you know, once Dries Vanthoor went to the grass, dropped 2 wheels on the grass, he got back onto the tarmac and nailed the accelerator again.
Yeah.
Because I've just heard the onboard audio feed, basically, and the onboard